What can 2014 teach us? Quite a lot, actually. A group of disgruntled animators came together to solve an industry-wide problem that essentially was affecting each and every one of them. Wage fixing. That's right. In 2017, they were actually rewarded in the form of a settlement in a class action lawsuit. Well, kinda. So let's take a look at this lesson. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, hiss and foes, welcome to the Culture Casino!
First, some background. Animators had been getting the short end of the stick since the mid-1980s, when it came to the wages and the wage increases that they actually deserved. Studios mysteriously offered them about the same rate, no matter what. Without having to compete for talent and wages, the market was artificially suppressed. And it kind of all started when Steve Jobs bought the digital animation processes from George Lucas's Lucasfilm. Steve, along with the president of Pixar at the time, Ed Catmull, agreed not to cold call each other's employees. Now, out of this arrangement, things got much more skeevy as time went on. In fact, court documents show that they agreed to notify each other when making an offer to an employee, and agreed not to offer higher pay if the current employer had already made a counteroffer. This is very not cool. Jobs and Catmull proceeded to move this agreement throughout the industry in a broad way. Remember, this all started out in about 1986. Now, it turns out that the studios were working together to artificially keep rates low. They were colluding. This is the actual collusion that you've heard of before. This means that they were operating as a cartel or a trust, and that's a big no-no when it comes to business, at least here in the United States and a few other countries. You can't do that. The business world requires you to have good faith when dealing with your employee, and the industry requires that you compete. It's part of the fair market system. Doing this actually can lead to some very nasty ramifications, which, of course, influences wages, etc. Imagine that Pixar, Disney, Blue Sky, Sony, and DreamWorks, literally figuring a way to stick it to their employees to artificially keep their costs lower than what the market would bear. Kind of crappy. Once this was brought out into the open, a class action lawsuit was obviously brought forward to expose all of this illegal activity and to get some recompense. Now, the original complaint further describes this activity here as, let me put it in this way. Whenever a studio threatened to disturb the cartel's goals of suppressing wages and salaries by recruiting employees and offering better compensation, the leaders of the cartel took steps to stop them. Now, I'm using the word cartel instead of the word that YouTube doesn't like, so it's a different C word. And it starts with con. So anyway. The cooperation extended so completely that each of the studios would email each other salary and budget information in regards to an employee attached to a production. And upon a Justice Department investigation, both Lucas and Jobs signed a settlement agreement that the practice would cease. Of course, it didn't. As a result, this class action was brought forward in 2014, and the settlement from each of the studio entities were as follows. And since Disney was the last domino to fall, we'll start with them. They're the largest amount of money. They offered $100 million. DreamWorks shelled out $50 million. Sony dropped a measly $13 million. And Blue Sky, which was a small studio at the time, kicked in their $6 million. Now, what's interesting is Disney, Pixar, same company now. Obviously, you didn't hear the name Pixar in there. You have, of course, Blue Sky, which is now part of Disney as of very recent news. So it seems like Disney was taking the brunt of this. But again, we're going back 3-4 years now. So the settlement amounts kept the case, obviously, from hitting any form of trial. And it kept the story much, much quieter than it actually deserved to have been kept. The judge's final approval of the, in total, $170 million settlement came on June 6th in 2017, as I mentioned before. This was less than 4 years ago. This case was settled at that point for that amount of money. It was done so, as I said, very quietly. It was just one of the great many times that large entities such as these strike deals to act illegally. They can artificially suppress wages, such as the example that you're given here. This is why big corporations, when they're in these positions, actually are very adversarial to a capitalistic process that allows for fair market competition. Hence, why it's illegal. They obviously can aid each other when it comes to negotiating deals, for particular packages, sports, movies, television things, their streaming services. You're going to now start to see less value realized for creators because of the streaming services, because they're going to be keeping a lot of these streaming deals behind closed doors. You won't know how much somebody was compensated for creating that show that you love. There won't be any competition for them. The streaming services can negotiate back and forth between each other how much they're willing to pay for a given something or another, and decide what fits better on whose platform. Does that sound like fair market competition? No, it does not. And of course, that's the way they can eliminate additional competition through mutually beneficial agreements. And we just saw that in the big tech world. Amazon doing a deal with Twitter to eliminate a competitor. Not cool. And as I mentioned, it happens in entertainment, it happens in finance, it happens in big tech, it happens all around us each and every day. They break the law and they get away with it. Let's hold those feet of these corporate entities to the fire and force the issue with our government. We need to break up these practices, and I'll take it a step further. We need to break up some of these large entities, because these anti-competitive practices are only possible because, again, they're operating in antitrust. And we should absolutely go after them. Anyway, let me know what you think about this type of story and how I've covered it. I want to know if I need to do more of this type of stuff in the future, because it always interests me and I find it fascinating. And I like to share them with you, but I want to know if you value them as well. So please leave your comments down below and let me know if this is the kind of thing you want to hear, because it's a little different than what you usually find on YouTube. As I always say, be sure to support independent creators out there. They desperately need your support. They don't have an industry to support them, as Stephen Walton always says, and you pretty much make it possible for them to grow. So commenting, sharing, all that's incredibly important. What I've learned recently, comments are very important, so be sure to do that not only here on my videos, but on your other favorite creators as well. I really do appreciate your support to each and every one of my subscribers, and of course to my members who have really made it a difference in the way that I can present information in the studio. As the studio grows and gets more fleshed out, hopefully the quality of the content that I provide will improve as well. So thank you for that. Be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, wash your hands, of course, because it's good hygiene. It really is. And until next time, bye. Hey there, one last quick note before I let you go, and before we make it to the end of this video. I, CultureCasino, have a brand new Teespring store. That's right, you can now go to Teespring, look up CultureCasino, or use the link in the video below, and pick out some handsome and beautiful CultureCasino merchandise with many different designs and styles and colors, many different items. I was actually surprised at all of the things that you could create, and I have some more designs and items on the way here shortly. But, if you want to support the channel in that way, there is some merch. Otherwise, here comes the ending. Thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts.
Yay!
Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can, as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.